Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, for many of us, I have been really thrilled that Maria Monti decided to do this radio series with us. And the reason is that there's so much as women that we've experienced in our lives that just now we're starting to understand all of the different ways we've grown up, we've been groomed, the clothes we wear, the clothes we haven't worn, but most importantly, what is it that's going on right now that both girls, women alike should understand. So let me just tell you, today we're going to be talking about creating functional understanding of bra support for future bra wearers. And the reason this is important, especially for today's show, is there a generation out there that doesn't have a single idea of what is at stake. And Maria, remember we started this out, here you are, you have a fantastic platform. The work that you do is not only in service of people, women, but really is educational. So initially, we had an introduction to who you were, how the Healthy Bra Company came into being, and we'll recap on that. But we also talked about, what this has been like for you, the history, your purpose, your passion. Then we looked at what was revolutionary for those of us women out there about this new bra design, but also the fitting process and what it means to truly feel comfortable. And then we talked about not just about the wear of it, but the medical, the health, the holistic idea of this. And beyond all of that, we looked at what this means to our health, both part one and part two. One of the things we don't talk about enough, which you covered beautifully, is the idea of sports bras and their current and new application. Because right now, we have more women and young girls involved in athletics than ever before. So today, we are looking at the series in recap, but also more importantly, why this is so important for this younger generation that parents and grandparents don't know much about. Isn't this very important to get the message out at this level? And great to have you here.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for having me again.
Yeah. What's at stake for young girls? Let's talk about this.
Well, I think one of the things that happens is that they get bewildered or confused because there's so much coming at them at a time when they're developing. You've got the peer pressure, you've got the psychological pressure, things in your body are changing, hormones are changing, and then you've got the TV and the media trying to identify who you are, even when you don't even know who you are yet, and it's a lot of pressure. And we don't have situations where it used to be a rite of passage for some of our mothers and our grandmothers to be able to go into a facility that was professional in the sense and do a bra fitting, and teach the mother and the daughter about what this is going to be like, this journey of actually having breasts and what their function is through your entire life and how to support them. And the thing is, if you start learning this when you're 12, 13, 14, early teen years, you carry foundational information, not only about breasts, but breast health and posture through your entire life. But you're getting at it at the time when it is the most critical. Because a lot of adults have to backtrack. They have to say, okay, what haven't I done, and what damage have I done to my body, and what are all these things that I have problems with now? But if we know these things, in our formative years, it's so much better. we've learned a lesson that can serve us for the rest of our lives, and then understand that this is something we have to keep coming back to, because we're going to change. We're going to
Yes.
change in, as we go through puberty, and then, weight loss, weight gain at any age in our life. Then we go through pregnancy, nursing, multiple times for many women, and then menopause and things like that, and if somebody has to have surgery. So there's so many different times in life when the bra conversation is had in our own heads, and it would be great to have somebody helping you start a solid foundation with this conversation, so place to begin that is really well informed.
Yeah, and the thing I want to talk about is, in this day and age, Maria, and I know you and I talked about this before, but in the day and age we live in, young girls, young women are more active, I believe, in more assertive body activities, athletics, than they've ever been. Everything from basketball to field hockey to softball and even football now. And so, yet every day of their lives, I believe that we have gotten less and less educated on how to provide ourselves with support. Because where are we going to get it from?
Sure, exactly. And the thing is that we think of a female athlete, and oftentimes you don't think about the breast weight and size being ample in a lot of ways, because you just don't see that unless you're in one of the, European countries or Latin countries. We see women who are, A, B, or a modest C in athletics. Now, because of what's happening with young women's development, a lot of young women are getting larger quicker and developing earlier. And so if they have the propensity to want to go into any kind of athletics or sports or what have you, they have an additional problem that's actually not addressed: the traditional sports bra aspect or the traditional training bra. I mean, it's almost like they have to skip a stage and they have to go right into a full support bra immediately, because maybe they're in grade 7 and they're a double D already. So, in educating them that they can go into these athletics or activities or whatever they want to do, but it doesn't have to be hindered by not having support. But you're right, your sports stores aren't going to address those things. And so, I feel like this is that I've also taken on, really starting to look at educating this age group.
Let's talk about the part of the pressure that happens to young girls now. I don't know about you, but I remember my first experience putting on a bra and walking out in the middle of a summer, and was my first experience. Of course, I was at what do you call it? I was tomboy, hung out with the guys, and I remember giving Vito a big black eye once for some of his comments and humiliation. That was the last time Vito ever said anything to me about my bra. But here I am. I'm a kid, right? You're a kid. You're young. You don't know.
Sure.
Parents don't tell you. But now, fast forward to where we are. Psychological issues in adolescence, things that we're trying to struggle with, social media, television commercial influences. Let's talk about what is important in the conversation now to young girls that we're not talking about.
Well, as I referred to earlier, I think this is an opportunity to get a strong sense of our own identity at the age when it is being bombarded with so many pressures to say, this is who you are. Because if you look on the internet or on television or even in a lot of magazines, they're going to say, these are the kind of bras you should go into right away because they are sexy and they're allure wear and they're going to make you, be a more desirable person. It has nothing to do with what you need as a functional need. I mean, even a lot of the sports bras they use sex and allurement, to attract, because that's what Madison Avenue does. But, that's a really young age to be throwing that kind of suggestion at a young woman, because she wants to fit in, certainly. but she doesn't want to be sexualized like what happened with you, where the boys are drawing attention to her. So I get a lot of young girls who, especially if they're ample breasts, they don't want to show it. They do everything to cover it up. They wear multiple shirts, they pat it down in every way. I've even had some girls come in and they've had their breasts taped down for athletics and stuff because they don't want the ridicule or even the attention at a time when they're trying to figure this out as who they are as a young woman. And, so all this sexualization of it, it's just coming too early, so this is a time when I want to talk to them about, okay, here's what you need is a physical foundation garment. Forget all that other stuff that's being put into your head, but what you need physically to support the weight, just anatomically. And then how does that garment take you into perhaps the physiology and kinesiology of the activity you're going to be doing? Maybe it's just walking down the road, fast walking, or maybe it is activities you mentioned, but she doesn't need the pressure, of feeling like she is bouncing all over the place, or she has to wear a sexy bra because, TV and media tells her to. So this is a time when she needs the most amount of assistance, I would say, from a cultural standpoint, because we're not giving it to her in culture.
Yeah. The other thing you said that I want to really get to is that there is a sense of self-esteem that we are not really even talking about very much. The schools are a little bit gun shy, not really want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about schools, don't want to talk about it. And then, the other part of it is parents are too busy. And so years go by, but we're now looking at a time in space of some of the things that we can do, right? We talked a little bit about peer pressure. We talked a little bit about how that works. But there's just a pure educational factor here that if we talk to this new group of women about years down the road, we won't be going to the doctor to look at why our back is out of alignment. And so there's an educational part of this that ties very well in to how young women feel, right? And how they can make certain choices.
Sure. And when I used to do health fairs, I would do lecture series as part of the health fair. So I'd get up on stage and I would address some of these issues to all age groups. Now that I've been doing this for about 20 years, one of the things that I'm going to start looking at is having mini lectures after school for moms and daughters to come to, especially when this is the start of a conversation. When the mom is looking at, okay, the brand new bra for her daughter for the first time, here is, a half-hour seminar that they can go to together that can really approach all of these subjects. And so I hope that that's going to be a good way to bring her into the conversation, and she'll be there with other, kids her age, young women too, who are all experiencing this. And this, as far as I know, this doesn't exist in society right now, where you're having them come together in a seminar of education of this nature.
Well, it doesn't. And let me just tell you something else too about what you're talking about doing here. One of the things that I love about what you're talking about is creating a new forum for young girls to come together and share something in common in a really proud way, right? In a way that not only helps their self-esteem, but it's going to super educate them. We've had a gap in really looking at what works for women and what doesn't, and has replaced that with commercialization and advertising. And I'm so glad to hear that you are now looking at this arena to not just educate, but give these young women a choice that they may not know that they have.
Yeah. And they can support each other. When they meet each other in these seminars, they can, maybe this starts off lifelong friendships which is another way of creating a foundation. I mean, so much of this is about setting up your foundation, whether it be your foundation garment, whether your foundation posture, foundation of peer pressure or not, but support of your peers. All of this, it comes at a critical time. And so, yes, this is absolutely something that I want to do. And I think what it's also going to do is possibly as women start thinking about, well, what do I want to dedicate my life to? You know, you aren't going to think about that when you're 14 or 15, but you're certainly circulating thoughts around in your head of, well, who do I want to be when I grow up? And, you know, there are so few women out there now who are sewing and or involved in this kind of work, you know, where you are doing an intimate fitting of someone that's has to do with being body conscious and providing a service that is very, very, you know, private and important. And so, you know, this may bring more young women into sewing again, as well as maybe entrepreneurial ideas of having their own business and doing something like this, you know, because wouldn't that be a great business to start as a woman is, you know, going through? I had a paper route, you know, that's what I had.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah, I mean, I used to, boy, I don't even want to date myself with how old this comment's going to be. This is when you could gather bottles, like Coke bottles, and take them back to the store for like 2 cents. That's like almost ancient.
Oh, well, they're still doing that somewhere.
I think they're actually doing it in Vermont. But I think what we're talking about here too is we're looking at not just what you created, but your style of working with women is what really comes to mind when I think about my experience with you. You know, you have a very professional as well as, you know, humanity aspect in what you do in working with women around this. And I really want to comment about that and say that about you from that perspective, because this is an experience for a lot of women, young, old, and it doesn't matter, that could be somewhat off-putting. And what you're talking about is creating a sacred space, right? You're creating a sacred space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we think about this time and this space, and we're thinking about the future for this particular market and looking at what's going to be essential, you really are talking about mentorship, aren't you?
In a manner of speaking, yes. You know, and I think that mentor is not something, I mean, they're out there, but they're missing. There's gaps of where mentors are available. And I think, you know, as we get in farther into this age of technology and so much shifts in that direction, coming back to the physical, I mean, we are still physical beings, and bras are related to being a physical being. And so as I work to mentor young ladies, I want to talk to them about the realities of what's happening that's different now in this day and age than when you grew up and when I grew up. You know, the technology is something that's actually fast forwarding us into a situation where it could get out of control really quickly if you don't have a person who's a guide or a mentor, etc. And it can be a personal one or it can be a professional one. But I love the whole idea of mentorship.
Yeah. What do you think is, from your perspective? Now, we've talked about a lot of different things in the shows, right, to bring us to today.
Yep.
But let's kind of, you know, take a sneak peek. Let's step back for a minute and talk a little bit about, you know, some of the key points of what we've previously discussed. One of the key points that I'm really was reflecting upon in my own education are the health issues. And I don't know why the light bulb didn't go on for me, because I know the damage I did to my feet from wearing heels that didn't fit. I mean, I know that, but yet we don't make the same connection with what we put on our body, what we put on to support ourselves. And when we're talking about, you know, healthy bras, we just don't think about it. What's it going to take for us to really step into the education of that?
I think it's just a human experience. I mean, we learn, unfortunately, by experience in some ways, which isn't good. You learned where your feet were a problem after wearing the shoes, but it's the experience of wearing them and figuring out that the discomfort was there and the dysfunction was there. And it's coming around to bras too. So many women call me now and say, I want to get rid of my underwires. They're poking me under my arms, you know, or the fit is really always been on my shoulders. All of these different things is that I think it's just the experience of wearing what they don't want to wear and trying to find another option that the light bulb goes on for them that, well, maybe this isn't healthy for me, that I'm so compressed, or, that I have these other issues. And so the health aspects are actually coming as I think a natural evolution of having worn bras for maybe so many years. And when I was mentioning this about the young girls who start as new wearers, well, maybe they can learn from our experience. It's like standing on the shoulders of giants. It's you learn from the past, and hopefully you can skip a few of the lessons to be learned. But you know what? There's going to be those who don't, and then they will come along and maybe in their 30s and something happens. Maybe they get pregnant and they realize how heavy their breasts really get, and that maybe they need not only support now, but maybe they needed it all along. So these kind of things, I think it's just going to be a natural evolution. And we are there at the precipice right now where women are saying, well, I've tried all the other options. There's got to be something else because I'm still having this issue.
Mm-hmm. When we're thinking and looking at this, do you have a sense from a parental point of view? Do you have a sense of how we can look at where we're going and how we can best stop and say to parents, there's something new here. There's something we have to talk about. There's something that I can help you. You can help them, rather, not me. You, Marie, can help them talk about. What is it, since you started to do the series, right? What have you discovered about the openness? Are parents open to having this conversation? I would imagine a lot of parents would be very open to having you do it.
I think some are open to it. I also think it becomes when there's a need. So, if it's not a big deal about something, they will just follow the rest of the pack that goes into the store and just buys off the rack. And they'll just do that. And that's easy. And it moves them into, okay, we accomplished this goal and we handled this. But when you have some sort of challenge, maybe it's the larger breasted daughter, or maybe she is having some other issues, or maybe she is going to be an equestrian. It's the need that actually establishes a different conversation. I mean, we're not there yet where as soon as a girl turns the age and she starts to develop breasts, that they're going to actually turn the light bulb on. Not most people, not most parents, and say, oh, I'm going to take this approach, because maybe they haven't taken that approach for their own self as an adult.
I know.
And maybe they will learn through this whole process. But I think it's just going to be, right now, we're still in the process of a need is going to establish where do you go to meet that need, and if it's
the need that you're talking about, you previously talked about, we're talking about new wearers, we're talking about teens, but we also talked about the health application. I was reading something about chronic illness and back pain, so to speak. And I want to talk about that. But before we do, I want to let everybody know, how can folks find out more about this? How can they talk to you? Let's make sure everybody's got the website.
Okay. The website is www.thehealthybra.company. Company all spelled out. And so then go there for generic information and email me from there. But I prefer phone calls, actually, because this is where I can talk on a precise nature of what a person's issues are. So they can reach me in Linwood at 360-815-3205.
Awesome. One more time with the website, because I know sometimes people are driving, they're multitasking. Website and phone number again, if you don't mind.
Okay. And the name of the company is The Healthy Bra Company. So if you remember nothing else, you put www and .com behind that. So thehealthybracompany.com, 360-815-3205 in Linwood, Washington.
First of all, let me thank you for bringing this message out there. I know we've got a few minutes left here. I want to ask you, in recapping, there's a powerful message here. And I
Yes.
would love for you to share that powerful message with everyone.
Well, I kind of knew you were going to ask me that, and I came up with some points of what I think. A lot of ladies are going to listen to this and they're going to say, okay, has she said anything about how this will benefit me? All right, so here we go. I've got some health benefits, and then I've got some aesthetic benefits. And I actually am going to start with the aesthetic benefits, because if we've got a global population here, they might not be thinking health yet. But if you want to have the most flattering fit in your clothes, this is a way to do it. If you want to have a look of instant slimming, lift your breasts up and it pulls your posture into a better place, this will do it. If you want something that's going to fit like a glove and has been actually custom fitted for you, this is something that's going to do it. If you want your true size, let's say before you go out and buy a wardrobe or what have you, this is going to do it. So all of those are just aesthetic benefits. Now, in terms of the health benefits, to me, that's the most important. But again, we've got a wide variety of audience. So helps to minimize or eliminate the shoulder strap groove. The actual bouncing of the breasts takes the pressure off the diaphragm so that we have easier breathing. Helps to distribute the breast weight more properly so that you don't have muscle problems with the upper back, neck, and shoulders. Also can help reduce water retention and by improving circulation and lymphatic drainage and drainage of the toxins. And then overall, it helps to just bring your spine into the best place possible, no matter what age you are, particularly if you're a young woman and your whole body is forming at this time. You want to have all the bones and all the muscles basically forming in the right way. And if you've got breasts that are not supported, or you're trying to hide them and you're bringing your shoulders into a rounded, protected position because psychologically you don't want anybody to know you have breasts, that affects your back and your neck and your shoulders too. So I think there's a wide variety of benefits that any woman could attach onto right there and say, okay, you know what, this is a possibility for me and for my daughter, or in other aspects of life when I'm looking at how does a bra apply.
Wow. Thank you so much for taking this message, and thank you very much for being you and doing something out there in the world that many people know needs to be done. Last question for real. What's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with now?
My personal message is that I've dedicated my life to education, and I want to provide education in an area that actually matters. And I think that this is something that really matters because it affects the side of the population that is all female, for sure. And we all pretty much deal with this from one level to another. From the time that we hit puberty to the time that we hit menopause, we're all going to be having some breast conversation with ourselves. And I think that it's important to be really breast conscious. And when we are, bras factor in.
Wow. So, thank you so much. Again, what's the best website? And thank you for all that you're doing.
www.thehealthybracompany, all spelled out, .com, and 360-153205 in Linwood, Washington.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, let's take a short break. We'll be right back.